I don't know any of the folks that have come after we begin the meeting, but I would like to welcome everybody from our chapter compatriots, our state society compatriots, and our patriots of the community that join us. I just want to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to be with us this evening. One of the things that we do a little differently in our chapter now is as a result of the cancer culture that's seems to be perpetuating throughout our country, and the diminishing and the elimination of our Star Spangled Banner, our national anthem, and things like football games, et cetera, et cetera. We try to reinforce our love of our country and our flag by doing the pledge, or excuse me, the Star Spangled Banner before our meeting starts. And that's what I will try to do now, is begin that for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem.
I think we have the prettiest flag in the world. At this point, we usually have our pledges to our national, our state, and the SAR. Our two commanders of the color guard usually conduct that, and they're still in hibernation. So we're going to have Robert Eskew conduct us through our pledges. Robert, are you there?
I am now.
Very good. It's all yours, Robert.
All right. The pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. South Carolina. I salute the flag of South Carolina and pledge to the Palmetto State love, loyalty, and faith. SAR. We, descendants of the heroes of the American Revolution, who by their sacrifices established the United States of America, reaffirm our faith in the principles of liberty and our constitutional republic, and solemnly pledge ourselves to defend them against every foe.
Thank you, Robert. Great job. Appreciate that very much. Our chaplain is Hugh Ham. I kind of gave him the title in our last meeting. He's kind of the CEO of our Compatriot Souls. And he always helps us get started in our chapter with God in the right way. Hugh, are you there?
Okay,
Hugh?
okay, ready? Let us pray. Dear God, our Father, please hear our prayer and bless all of our compatriots as we live our daily lives. Lord, we continue to pray for our country and that you will take control and guide our leaders to make the right decisions to keep this nation united, free, and strong. Spring is almost upon us, and with it, the promise of new life as we remember your crucifixion and resurrection. Thank you for your sacrifices to save us. Be with us now and forever and keep us safe. Amen.
Thank you, Hugh, very much. Our next presentation report is by Gary Blampier, and he's our secretary of the chapter. Gary, mic open?
Yes, so the minutes were posted on the website and in the newsletter and were voted on by members online to be approved. And I received no corrections.
Very good. Anything else? Gary? Is that it?
I think you turned in a quarterly report too, right?
Yes.
Did we submit the
Quarterly
quarterly
reports are-
report?
Yes, sir. That was taken care of. And there's a tax report that'll be, Fritz is filing that. I don't think he's done that yet though, Garrett. That's the income tax report.
Okay.
Is that are you through? Gary? We'll push on then to the treasurer's report. Fritz, go ahead. Pardon me? Gary, are you there?
He's through. Proceed, Bill.
Okay. Our treasurer is Fritz Gladfelter, and Fritz is also in hibernation with the virus there in our area. So I will do the treasurer's report for the chapter. Really, we had no expenses for this prior month, so the opening and closing balance are $979.74. We did receive our 2021 dues check from the State Society for $710, and that is in transit to our treasurer for deposit in our checking account. So our adjusted available cash assets at this time are $1689.74. Our registrar is Woody Carruthers, and I spoke with Woody earlier today, and I think he's got some good news for us. Woody?
Yeah, I'm glad to report tonight that two of our newest members are with us tonight. David Grable goes by Rich. Glad to have him with us tonight. We also have our very newest member, Mike Gillis, who was just approved today. And we're glad to have you with us, Mike. So we got two new members today.
That's
Oh,
great.
that's great news.
We have three members that have been in process, and those two were approved. So we still have one member or one applicant, Gary Patterson, that's still in process. It did take a little longer than usual for David and Mike to be approved because I guess everything's been delayed because of the virus. So we're glad that those two got through the process okay. Right now, I am working with James or Jim Nab. He's got a very nice application. Had a few little hitches we have been working through, but it looks like it's going to be a nice complete application. He's a younger person. He's a Army veteran. about 35 years old, and a real nice fellow to work with. And hopefully we'll be able to get his application into the state before too long. We have 2 other applications that are complete, but they're not proceeding at present. One is Norman Smith. He needs his birth certificate, and he's having some problem coming up with his birth certificate. So if he's able to get that, then we'll be able to send his in. Another one that is finished is John Wright. He lives down in Blackville, I believe. And he's, I guess, waiting to get his check. But if he can come up with his check, we can send his in. We have a couple that over the past few months that could not prove their lineage, so they will not be proceeding. We have one supplemental that I just got today, and I'm reviewing that, and hopefully we'll be able to send that on in fairly soon. So that's where we are with the registrar.
Very good report, Woody, and very encouraging. I think we're going to be able to hit that 40 membership mark probably this year very easily. Remember, we've got Wendell Patton to be inducted. If we have a live April meeting, that would, if we can get Wendell to be there for the meeting, it would be a nice time to do his induction. But I think we have some good possibilities of having some active members in the group that's coming in now. You know, for example, Wendell before he retired, was a forensic photographer, and Keith and I were talking about that, and he might be very good to add to our technology team to take care of the video recordings and stuff, at grave markings, etc. And so I think, and Wendell indicated that he wanted to be very active in the chapter. And finally, I'd like to congratulate Mike Gillis and Dave Grable on their achievement. It's not easy getting to become an SAR member, and you can be very proud of yourself, and it's something you can pass on to your grandchildren. It's kind of neat, I think.
Sure. Thank you very much.
I might add, Bill.
Yes.
Mike Gillis, we worked on his. It was a rather complex application, and we worked it completely through the Patriot. It was not one that any work had been done through the DAR on it. So
Tremendous.
I really feel good about his application. It was a nice, really nice application, and nice working with him on that.
Yeah, I remember my Patriot, John Wilson. That was the same scenario. That was the first one to get his approved. So kind of proud of that too. So Mike can be very proud of his too.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good report, you guys. This is my section for the report, and got some good things to report, I think. First of all, I'd like to report about our executive officer meeting that occurred a week ago. I've waited a whole year to say this, and that is that effective in our April meeting, we're going to have a live chapter meeting. And that meeting is going to be conducted at our old site of the Lizard's Thicket Restaurant, 7 p.m., April the 12th. And it's going to be like a reunion for family members, for us all to get back there together. So I am looking forward to April very, very much.
Bill, can I ask a question there?
Yes, sir.
Are we still going to have a dinner from 6 to 7?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The meeting will be at 7 o'clock. Well, it's exactly the way it was before. What we'll do, Woody, is I'll be sending out a mass mailer through MailChimp to all the membership and all the folks that in the state society and the community that we normally communicate with, and letting them know all the information and everything. And that'll all be in that. For this report tonight, it's just more condensed kind of a thing. But should be a very good meeting. Looking forward to it very, very much. The second thing, the Godfrey Deer chapter we'll conduct and that's been approved by the executive committee. We're going to do at least one grave marking, either for a compatriot, a patriot, or a founder during the summer months of June through August timeframe. And our thought process there was that we wanted, because we only have 2 meetings before we usually take a break for the summer, but because we haven't been together for a full year, we wanted to maintain some kind of continuity in the chapter and activity in the chapter over the summer this year, so we could we don't lose anybody, and we kind of keep the momentum that we've built up and the initiative we built up over the last couple of years and keep it rolling. And Nelson McLeod and Buck Schuler are our 2 officers that are heading that project up for us. So very much looking forward to their decision on which one or which combination or whatever we're going to do over the summer months for grave markings. And we're going to also try to activate our 4-man militia team that we've got to help participate in that in those projects, along with Nelson and Buck, when we do whatever we do in the summer for the grave marking. So those are 2 big, I think, positive things for our summer months, and very much looking forward to them. There's a third one. The executive committee approved a motion that Woody and I had, and that is that we're going to conduct a chapter picnic on the 4th of July. And we're going to invite anybody that in the State Society that wants to come to it. We will send out a mass mailer on that, and hopefully get that out early so that everybody can mark their calendar and plan to be, hopefully will want to and plan to be there with us. But this way we're going to kind of keep our chapter breathing over the summer months rather than just going into hibernation again. I don't want to go back into hibernation. The 4th issue, the technology team, which basically right at this point is Keith, Woody, and myself. And ultimately, we're going to bring Robert Eskew into that group, and he's going to kind of be our liaison between the membership and our technology automation subjects. For example, our database. Anyhow, this one is where we're going to conduct our April meeting. Our April meeting is going to be our first serious effort at a hybrid virtual meeting. And by that, I mean, it's going to be live, or hopefully it'll be live. It will be on Zoom virtually, and also we'll be recording it. So we want, what we're basically trying to do is cover all of our bases with our membership and any of people that in the community that are interested, because we have a number of ladies from the DAR and from the community that attend our meetings, even though they're not members of our chapter. They are in our ladies auxiliary group. But anyhow, we're wanting to do that combination. So, and the reason for that is the people that you know happen to, we have some membership that is like in Greenville, South Carolina, some membership that that may be ill at the time or something. So the virtual will be an opportunity for them to both attend our live meeting if they want to. If they can't attend the meeting for other reasons, we also will have the recording capability, which they can go back and go to our website, look at the recording at their leisure. So we'll cover all the bases as far as the chapter is concerned. So that pretty much well covers what we're going to be doing April, May, and over the summer. Our chapter achievements for February. We published our newsletter, a little bit disappointing this month. We dropped down in opens of the letters down to 80. And I think we were at something like over 100, 105 or something last month. So I'm not quite, I don't understand why the decline a little bit in the newsletter, but we'll keep pushing on the newsletter, and it's going to continue to contribute to the marketing of our chapter, to our compatriots in the society, and our patriots in the community also. The second achievement was we have a delegate on the state Society's Technology Committee, and Keith Maddox is that man, and he's attended every one of their meetings, and he attended the 4th meeting this past month. And he will continue to be part of that, that committee, because we believe it's going to be one of the most contributing committees to the State Society in the coming years. Third, we attended the State Society's Board of Governors meeting last month, and it was a very enjoyable meeting. And it looks like we've got, especially from Dave Damaris's report, I felt like, and from the secretary, my mind just went blank.
Mark Mann.
Mark Mann.
Mark Mann, I'm sorry. And I apologize if Mark's in the audience. Anyhow, I was very impressed with Dave Damaris's progress with the website. And that's a very positive thing, because that's a communication vehicle for all of the members of the state. And he's doing a great job there. And so we want to continue to support him and work with him. The 4th thing is we conducted a search for a meeting site for the chapter, because we felt like Lizard's Thicket restaurant might be too small for us with all the spacing conditions and the masks and all of that. And we visited a number of sites. 2 of the sites we had to eliminate because they were closed on Mondays, which is our meeting day. And we looked at another one, and the rooms were too small, although it was a good restaurant and a good location. So we went back to Lizard's Thicket, and we reevaluated it, and we sat down with the manager of the restaurant, and we figured that we can get like 15 members in with spacing. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And it looks like the requirements of the restrictions on spacing and all are starting to ease up a little bit. So we should be able to accommodate anybody that wants to come to our meeting up through May, and then we can reevaluate it sometime over the summer and do something in September if we need to. So that's it for our achievements in February. Chapter objectives, the 4 red ones at the top are active. And as I indicated, we're going to do the April brick and mortar virtual meeting, which is a hybrid Zoom scenario. The compatriot data entry to our database, I've got the form in draft, and I'm still reviewing that. And as soon as I get that completed, I'll send that on to Robert Eskew, and he will, what I'll do is I'll send it out to the membership in a mailing, and then Robert will be the man responsible for collecting that data back and for getting it into our database. Mention the chapter grave marking, June through August, won't go into that again, and we have the 4th of July picnic. So these are the active chapter objectives at the point. We have 4 inactives. The first 3 revolve around the militia, the 4-man militia team, and they involve, I really want to sometime downstream to get to a situation or a position where we do a formal presentation of the colors in our meetings, not just placing the flags in the stand before the meeting. We also have, we want to do a manual of arms training class for that militia team. We think the militia team's going to grow. And of course, we get new officer training programs, which is something that Woody and I had started on a couple of years ago for the registrar. And we do have a PowerPoint training scenario for new officers going into the registrar's position of the chapter. The website retention program is one that I really think is important to the chapter. And that's one where we just want to, actually, that'll be a digital file cabinet for storing anything we want for historical preservation for the chapter. And that will be in effect before the end of the year. And that's it for objectives. The presentation for this evening is be a 7-minute presentation. It's going to be on a subject called the Liberty Tree. And I selected this because there's a couple of people in the chapter Keith and me, who aren't experts in the American Revolution. We're more Civil War type guys. And one of them was the Liberty Tree. I did not know exactly what it was and what it represented and why it was in the history of our country. And I thought for the folks like me and Keith that you might want to be interested in watching a 7-minute presentation on the forgotten symbol of the American Revolution. And that's what we'll try to do here at this point in the meeting. It's kind of a little break from all these boring reports. If it loads for me.
I'd like to tell you a powerful story from American history, but it's one a lot of people don't know. The first game that Curious Experience Design created told this same story, so it is near and dear to my heart. The story begins in 1763. The French and Indian War was finally over. The American colonists had fought alongside the British Army to win in what seemed like a permanent victory over their enemies, the French. Britain wanted to maintain this peace, but the people that the colonists had fought against were still there. Maintaining this peace was going to be difficult, and it was going to cost money. Already in debt from fighting this war, the British government decided that the colonists should be the one to pay. So in 1765, 3 years after the war's end, they passed the Stamp Act. The Stamp Act didn't have anything to do with postage. What it did was require revenue stamps to be put on all kinds of public documents, like contracts and licenses. It would be easy to implement and to enforce, or so they thought. Disapproval of the Stamp Act was near unanimous in America, but people were divided on how to actually respond. Some favored sending petitions explaining that the Stamp Act was ill-timed and poorly conceived. Other colonists insisted that since this was taxation without representation, it violated their rights as Englishmen and that they should demand its immediate repeal. In Boston, many people favored that approach, but the Massachusetts government chose the gentler approach. Furious that their politicians had chosen this meek path that they were sure was going to be ineffective, people began to plot about how they could take more direct action. Around July of 1765, a group of people began meeting in private in the back room of a rum distillery. This group called themselves the Loyal Nine, and they would grow into what we now know today as the Sons of Liberty. Since Parliament was too far for this small group to influence, they focused on the man who was supposed to sell the stamps themselves, a well-connected Bostonian politician named Andrew Oliver, and they set their plan into motion on August 14th. If you came into Boston that morning, you would cross Boston Neck, the thin spit of land that connected Boston to the rest of the continent. There was only one road into town, and as you rode in on the edge of town, you would think you were still in the countryside, with sparse houses and rolling grassy hills. The further you traveled, the closer you got to the center of town where things became more dense. Right at the corner of Orange Street and Essex Street, you'd always pass under a gigantic elm tree that hung over the road. It was a familiar sight, but this time something was different. A crowd of people gathered, laughing and jeering. And there in the tree hung a grisly effigy, a life-size dummy of a man hanging from a noose. He had an armband with the letters A.O. for Andrew Oliver, and a poem pinned to his chest. A goodlier sight who e'er did see, a stamped man hanging on a tree. And a note below said, anyone who removes this is an enemy to his country. Next to the effigy hung a boot with the devil's head poking out, signifying the Earl of Bute, who many thought was an architect of the Stamp Act. This threat to a public official did not go unnoticed. The governor's council met in a panic and dispatched the sheriff to take the effigy down. But when he got to the tree, he quickly realized he was outnumbered. Tough working men surrounded the tree, led by a cobbler named Ebenezer McIntosh, who was known as a leader in the South End street brawls. The sheriff fled the scene. The effigy was cut down and paraded through the streets, people raising chants of liberty, property, no stamps. They marched through the center of town, barging through the ground floor of the old state house that still stands today. When they reached his home, Andrew Oliver was long gone. They broke some of his windows and tore down a fence. They went up the hill behind his house and constructed a pyre. They placed the effigy through a mock trial and found it guilty. They stamped on it, cut off its head, and burned it in a bonfire. The very next day, Andrew Oliver announced his resignation. And furthermore, he complied with the demands of the crowd and came below that very same elm tree to publicly renounce the position. When news of what had happened in Boston was published in the other colonies, effigies were made, resignations were demanded. Soon, not a single man in the 13 colonies was willing to take the job of selling stamps, and the Stamp Act would shortly be repealed. The tree where this happened was ever after known as Liberty Tree. It became a meeting place, the center of protests, a truly democratic symbol, unlike the walls of Faneuil Hall that only admitted the landed gentlemen of the town to vote. The Liberty Tree was a place where anyone could gather. The Stamp Act was repealed, and August 14th was celebrated for years afterward as a patriotic holiday, commemorating a time when the people rose up as a community to force the powerful to remember who they are supposed to serve. Liberty Tree, this symbol of the power of the people, is a largely forgotten symbol. So join me in remembering Liberty Tree. I've created my own traditions for this holiday, which include having some punch, gathering together under some kind of tree or a representation of one indoors, and telling this story to remember when we all work together, people like you and me can change history.
For me, that was educational because I did not know what the Liberty Tree, I knew what it represented, I just didn't know how it originated. As a result of that, I created these two animations for you of two flags that are connected to the Liberty Tree. The first one, the one above, is the flag that flew from many battles in the Northeast, especially up around Boston, New Hampshire, Vermont, in that area. And looking at some of the flags, I noticed a lot of the trees changed on the flags. For example, if you remember in the presentation, he mentioned that the Liberty Tree in Boston was an elm tree. Well, some of them look like trees, and then some of them look like pine trees. This particular one you're looking at is a pine tree. And I kind of assumed that this would have been one that would have flown in the Northeast, probably up in New Hampshire, Vermont area in front of the battalions up there. They usually, most of the flags that I see, they all said an appeal to heaven. Some of them said an appeal to God, but those were the combinations, and and they usually were on a white background. The flag on the bottom was the first representation of the Sons of Liberty flag. That flag, in some of the research that I read, it actually flew at the tree in Boston on that first meeting. And that's the reason that I wanted to show you both of these flags so that you would know that the bottom one did fly on that tree at that meeting that he mentioned. We'll continue on with our reports now. Our next one is by our Vice President of Programs and Events, Nelson McLeod is our Vice President of that committee group. And Nelson, are you there?
I am, Bill. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Bill's already mentioned that we are planning to have some sort of marking earlier or sometime during this summer. We have found some literature that indicated who the 21 original members of the South Carolina Sons of the American Revolution are, and Buck's done some good work identifying the graves of 17 of those. So, and I believe 13 or 14 of them are in Richland County, none in Lexington County, but we've got a target-rich environment of some founders that we can mark coming up, and as things open up, we'll make plans accordingly, and we'll look forward to having a good representation of folks there with us. That's all I have, Bill.
Okay. I would add that the founders' graves markings that we're going to hopefully co-host to those with Thomas Taylor's chapter, and you'll be responsible, I guess, for coordinating that if that's the decision that you and Buck made, that we do a founder gravesite.
Yeah, we're very much interested in co-sponsoring them with some other chapters and others as it seems appropriate, and certainly the ones in Richland County are in the Thomas Taylor chapter backyard.
Yes, that's right. Very good. Thank you very much, Nelson. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Our historian, and Nelson mentioned Buck. Buck is also helping out with the with Nelson in the grave marking area. And Buck, are you there? Keith, is Buck there?
Buck has got an early flight tomorrow, and he's on crew rest right now. I talked to him a little while ago.
Oh, okay, very good. Thanks for that update. I appreciate that. I'd mentioned that Buck is an airline. He's a former retired Air Force colonel, I think, and he's a pilot for FedEx, and he is actually flying all over distributing the vaccinations to the folks in the country. So we're somewhere down the line, we'd like to have him give us an update of the experiences and the history that he created over this past year. It'd be interesting to hear. Anyhow, Nelson, when you talk to Buck, tell him we said hello.
Sure will.
Our Vice President of Career Development is Fred Morrison. Fred is one of our members that had an operation and has been, because of the virus scenario, has kind of not been attending the meetings, but he has contributed very much to our newsletter with articles and just good support of that objective in our chapter, and so much looking forward to him rejoining us. He's one of the members of our 4-man militia team. So, and all of our members of the militia team are uniformed and armed, which is kind of neat, and it's going to grow. Our Vice President of Technology is Keith Maddox, and him and I are connected by an umbilical cord now. I'll tell you what, we talk every day about something that's going on. Keith, are you there?
Yes, I am, and I'll be short and sweet. One thing that came out of the State Technology Committee report was that we now have 748 paid members. There were 105 non-renewals, and the non-renewals cover a large spectrum of reasons. There were some deaths. We've got 1 or 2 in our chapter that are going to renew when we start doing the regular meetings. So that number should change a little bit, but probably not a whole lot. Another thing that came up was Dave Damaris who's with us tonight, set up a procedure for an alias email address. And the example that he used is instead of, if you wanted to talk to the person that's responsible for the state website, you would you would send an email to the webmaster at scssar.org instead of sending it to Dave Damaris. Now, the beauty of this, and I think that this is something that our president should consider having an alias, because you would contact the president of the Godfrey Dreyer chapter rather than contact Bill Wilson, because 3 years from now, it may not be with Bill Wilson. So it keeps it consistent. It makes it easier to keep track of who's doing what. One last thing, Dave reported that he had sent out a survey and got 46 responses out of the 748 members. And he, in the report, there were supposedly no responses from the Godfrey Dreyer chapter. So I was kind of wanting to ask if anyone in our chapter thinks they did respond to that, or do they recall seeing the request for the survey? And Dave, if you'd like to speak to that, please do.
Well, certainly I do want to encourage, folks to do that. As you all know, that Keith and Bill have tried to involve them in putting together a newsletter as well. So we sent out a request to fill on the survey, kind of haphazardly, again using my own personal chapter email, which, as you know, you wouldn't necessarily recognize as coming from the statesociety.org, which is again why I really want to have an alias email address, so that you know that things are actually coming from our organization and not just willy-nilly from somebody else. Nonetheless, I don't know if the email address or all the email addresses were proper in the email that we had sent out. We do have a MailChimp list that is run by Thomas Hansen, but his MailChimp list was way out of date, and we got the current roster information on an Excel spreadsheet from our current secretary, State Secretary Mark Mann. However, there were a couple of inaccuracies in there as well, and deleted or not viable email addresses. And when Tom tried to load all of those 800 into the MailChimp program, it rejected it because they said that there were 2 or 3 of them that were not accurate. This is a wonderful thing, for MailChimp for us to do. You download a CSV file with all of the email addresses in it, and it rejects the whole thing because a couple of them didn't work. But so now you have to go through all 700 of them and try to figure out which ones are not correct. So I do apologize to you for not having an accurate email address and an accurate notification format. Hopefully we'll get this newsletter thing resolved, and luckily Keith is working on that with David Smith, the Senior Vice President and head of the Communication and Publicity Committee, along with Tom Hansen. And we appreciate Bill's steadfast help in that as well. So we'll hopefully get that resolved sometime soon. But anybody who would like the link to the survey, you can get to that directly from the members only area in the scssar.org website. Members only, and you'll still have to log on with the current password, uppercase SCSSAR 1889, to get to it. But you can follow that link there, and please, if you have the opportunity and have not submitted the survey, we would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dave. I'd like to just very quickly ask if any member that's online right now recalls getting the survey or responding to it.
Keith,
Um,
Buddy Witherspoon, I did respond to it and I sent it back to Dave.
Okay,
This is Bill, and I did not get the survey through the email, but I did complete a survey on the SAR website. I don't know whether that one gives you the name of the individual or not, Dave, but I completed one on the state website. I don't know if Dave heard that or
Yep,
not.
I did hear you, Keith, and I saw both of those actual responses. I'm not looking at the survey right now. What the things that I identify them with, as you know, to participate in the survey, it does require an email address. I'm not looking at those terribly closely, but I did want to make sure that we had an email address to actually enter the survey. And the second thing is there is a question on there as to which chapter you belong to. So we delineate that. And Keith, I just wanted to ask you, were you looking at the actual breakdown of the number of respondents? There, I think
yes.
we're respondents from 14 chapters and gosh.
And none from Godfrey Dreyer. That was what concerned me.
Well, we'll have to look at that, and I have all of that information out on the spreadsheet. Is that actually on the spreadsheet as well?
Don't recall.
Okay, or just the
Okay.
response. I
Okay.
will look into that, and we'll see if I can, see whether or not that was.
Okay, thank you very much. Bill, that's it from me.
All right. Thank you very much. Our committee chairman for honors and awards is Don Simmons. Don is a former president of the society, or of our chapter. And a member of his committee is Woody Carruthers. So that's a pretty strong committee for honors and awards.
Don is not here tonight, but we will have some presentations to make at the April meeting.
Very good. Thank you a lot. I appreciate that. Robert Eskew was our former genealogist, and we just last month we asked Robert if he would move over to, and we did make the move, and he is now our administrative services officer. And the question becomes, why did we create that position? And what we needed was somebody that has technology experience, and he has a strong background in working with the National Society on their database and completing and filling in information into their database. So he's comfortable with working with technology, and we wanted to get him involved in our chapter and helping us complete our database on our chapter members. So he's going to, and he's in our prior history, he's always worked with us very much in setting up and dismantling the technology at our meetings. So he's always been very close to our group. And so as soon as we can, he's going to be beginning that. And that, as soon as I get the form out to our membership to fill in so that we can get the information we want to put into our database, then Robert will have a lot of responsibility within the chapter. Robert, did you want to say anything? Is Robert there?
I have nothing to report. I'm just waiting and standing by.
That's exactly right, Robert. It's all in my court right now, and as soon as I can get that form ready, we'll have you airborne, my friend. But I thank you for all the things that you do for this chapter, and which is a lot.
All right, thank you.
The lady that's not with us tonight, Terry Gladfelter. Terry is the wife of Frisk Gladfelter, our treasurer. And the summer picnic that we'll be starting up, I'm sure Terry's going to be deeply involved, because if there's any lady that can organize something and get it going and getting it airborne, it's Terry. So I'm looking forward to working with her on the picnic for the summer, but she's not with us this evening. Our next gentleman is Dr. Buddy Witherspoon. Buddy's one special guy. He's our first officer within the State Society from our chapter. And that makes us very proud and proud of him. And he's also our chairperson for our ROTC Awards. And Buddy, any comments for us this evening?
As far as the ROTC is concerned, we've already heard from Swansea that they will be doing nothing this year. And this is already the end of the first week of March and going toward the spring, and haven't heard from the other schools at all. So I'm not sure whether it'll be anything to present this year again like it was last year, but we are standing by to ready to do whatever's necessary to naturally participate if called upon. But again, it may not happen again this year. That takes care of the ROTC awards. I would also like to say to Woody, if we're going to have a physical meeting in April, I think we've had with some of our new members that came in that were veterans. I think probably our veterans appreciation certificates may be prepared for that meeting also if they are there, and we can present some of those. As far as the
We can do that.
good, thank you very much. As far as the mid-region, just a couple of things quickly. Number one, I believe Keith said he was going to be short and sweet. Well, I'll be long and bitter. Maybe that's the opposite, but anyhow, first thing I want to share is the National Museum Board has 4 openings coming up. If anybody's interested in serving on the National Museum Board, it's for a 3-year term. The incoming new national president will either appoint or reappoint the members for that board. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I'll try to get you the information, or you can go to the website and look up the museum board as far as the duties and what have you, their meetings and so forth. We had a BOG meeting back in February. The BOG meetings have no motions or any business to be conducted. They're strictly informative because we're bound by the bylaws saying that meetings have to be physical and therefore do not include technology such as Zoom. So that's the reason we're supposedly coming up with our special meeting and annual meeting very soon. By the way, we do have a state executive committee meeting tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock by Zoom to nail down some of these dates. At this time, the special meeting that has been called is supposed to be May the 1st. That's a Saturday. Don't put these down yet, but just tentatively pencil them in until we have that Zoom meeting tomorrow night to make it all concrete. But the special meeting is supposed to be May the 1st, and that's primarily to be able to change the bylaws so that we can do business and conduct business via whatever technology may be available should we come across this again down the road and what have you. And I think we have to consider any technology that may be available to us other than Zoom too, because we don't know what the future holds and what may be laid out for us. The annual meeting is supposedly to be the last Saturday in May, the 29th. Both of those meetings are supposedly be in Columbia. I'm kind of working on the meeting place for that, and hopefully we'll maybe put that all in concrete at the Zoom executive committee meeting tomorrow night. Other than that, I think that covers what's going on with the state right now, unless I've missed something. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to try to address it.
Okay, very good, buddy. I appreciate the report very much. Looking forward to the BOG meeting.
Yes. You mean the special and the annual?
The annual, yeah.
Yeah.
Special is just a quick meeting, is it not?
Really just to be able to change the bylaws so that we can conduct meetings other than physical and brick and mortar. Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you very much, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Take care of yourself. Our next chairperson is for education and scouting, and Woody and I'm on his committee for this. And Woody is he's been in the scouting area for what, a couple 100 years, Woody, I think, hasn't it been? A long time. A long time. Woody, go ahead.
We're not doing too much in the education area right now, but simply because the school situation. So I don't expect there'll be too much interaction with any live programs with the schools during the spring. Hopefully we can get back with them on some of our programs we've done in the past, coming up maybe in the fall. I do think that we will possibly have some Eagle Scout recognitions to make during the spring. Some of the courts of honor are going to start taking place in person, and as that happens, I think we'll be recognized in some Eagle Scouts.
Looking forward to that, Woody. Is that it?
That's it.
Oh, thank you very much. Our commander of the militias, Don Jones, and due to the virus scenario, we haven't been doing much in this area, but our activity is going to pick up over the summer with the grave marking and with the live meetings. So Don and his trumpet and his rifle and all the other 3 members will be taking a lot of activity in the chapter meetings. At this time, Keith, if you would be kind enough to unmute everybody or send a message out to everybody to unmute. We welcome any comments or recommendations, criticisms, whatever you'd like to speak about, we will try to respond to. So the mic is open to anybody that would like to say something.
Everyone is unmuted.
Great.
I would like to just say a quick couple of things since Woody just gave his report on the education. So far, the state has 1 candidate in the Rumba oration contest. So if anybody is connected to any of the school individuals that would like to participate, that we're definitely would like to have more than 1 candidate. It makes the judging easier if you have only 1 candidate, but if you have somebody who would like to participate that and possibly win a nice scholarship for themselves, would be good to join that. The other thing I wanted to just quickly mention is that I'm not one of the things I want to talk about with the executive committee, buddy, is the fact that obviously the state owns 3 granite grave markers with the SAR Patriot logo on them in Greenville at the Gillespie Monument Center. So if you're thinking about marking graves or founder graves, those are available as well for the individual chapters.
Yeah, I don't know whether you know, Dave, but in our chapter, we have 19 founders markers.
Quite a bit, yes.
Oh, okay, you do know. All right, okay.
Yes, quite a bit. Luckily, we only have 1 here that we were looking at putting a grave marking on, but
They're the property of the state. They're the property of the state, so they're available to you also.
yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Other comments, feedback?
Yes, this is Ronnie Powell.
Yeah, Ronnie.
I'd like to thank your chapter for getting your reports in on fairly early for the BOG meeting. I really appreciated that.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
And I have a question for you and Dave. Have y'all discussed archiving all your electronic media with the state also?
David and I haven't had the conversation, but I think he,
Or
I
Keith
think he
with
might
the
be
committee?
aware. Pardon?
Or Keith and the technology committee, have y'all discussed archiving electronic histories and meetings for chapters at the state level also?
We have, you have gotten to the discussion stage, Ronnie, but that's about it right at the moment.
Okay.
We do know that, certainly with the state video, that Tom Hansen actually does provide and pay for himself a Vimeo repository. And I've looked in, there's a nice, WordPress plugin for Vimeo as well, but definitely as part of our technological document that we put out, and I thought I had sent that to you as well, is that part of that is a historical repository for many things, and It's just that it hasn't hit the top of our priority list quite yet.
I understand, and thank you for that. And one other thing I was interested in is your chapters coming up with these brand new officers to do things and solve things that haven't been done before. Have you started to create job descriptions and responsibility lists for them?
Is that question for me, Ronnie, or for
Yes,
Dave?
it is, Bill. It's for you, Bill.
Yes, we have. Keith has got a draft out where we're at the early stages of it, Ronnie.
Yep.
But what we're trying to do is write job descriptions for all of our officers. And
Fantastic.
and he has sent out drafts for us to work on, and I know Woody and I have received some, and we're hoping to get to those in the next couple of weeks. You wanted to wait till we got through this meeting and everything, but we are working on those job descriptions. We also have Woody and I, about a year and a half ago or something, we developed a PowerPoint for training registrars. When we had intended to present that at the last live annual BOG meeting for the State Society, but because that got canceled because of the virus scenario, that wasn't accomplished. But we still have that in our inventory. So Woody and I have kind of kicked around ideas of that's definitely going to stay in the in our inventory. And if the state wanted it or you could use it, they're more than welcome to it too. But Keith is doing a digital thing right now, a drafts on job positions within the chapter. For example, Robert Eskew moving over into his job, what the job is he is the liaison between our chapter membership and our technology. Right. And he will be the man and they'll be responsible for maintaining the database. And if we bring up the digital record retention system, which is a plug-in like Dave was mentioning, if we get to that before the state is able to get to it, then whatever we learn or experience or implement, then we could pass that on to Dave, and Dave would do the same for us if he got to it first. So.
I just want to congratulate you on getting that far so far at this point, and I think it's a great idea to do it. I think it'll be providing a great form of leadership for other chapters that don't quite have the same breadth of leadership and skills and background you all have, and it'll be wonderful for the entire state once you get it done.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you, Ronnie. Appreciate it very much. Any other comment?
Yeah, I've got a question regarding the survey.
Yes, sir.
Is the entire password uppercase or just the first letter?
Entire password.
Okay, thank you.
Dave, if your records show that I know I went out there and filled one out. I don't know if I submitted it properly. I'm not quite sure.
The Yellow Dog email address is definitely in my spreadsheet.
Oh, very good. Okay, you're there.
And so is Buddy's. And
Oh,
we
you
have
got mine too. I did it too.
Somebody else said something there.
Oh, it was me. I said I did mine also.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Very
I have
good.
3 of them there from Godfrey.
Well, we're a little bit over our 1 hour, so we're going to move on now. Robert, our SAR recessional, would you handle that, please?
All right. Until we meet again, let us remember our obligations to our forefathers who gave us our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, an independent Supreme Court, and a nation of free men.
Thank you very much, Robert. This is our last slide of the meeting this evening, and you'll notice a choir on the left. And this is something I do every meeting now, and there's a purpose behind this. If you listen to the words of what this choir, the lyrics of the song, you'll understand what our chapter is about, what our state society is about, and what our nation is about. The words are very important to me, and that's the reason I play this. Most people look at it and think it's a Christmassy type thing, but it's really not. What these young people are saying to you is really what our chapter is all about.